Hey, Jin. Hey, Albert.
Hey.
Hi.
Jin, does it still take you a while to join meetings? Like, do you have to join like 2 minutes early just to get Zoom going still?
No, just like it's much faster. It's not immediate, like 5 seconds or 10 seconds.
Okay.
So it's fine.
Cool. Give Mark a second. I see he's in the document. Hey, Remy.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah.
I say we go ahead and get started. I see Mark's in the doc. I'm sure he'll join here soon. In the spirit of Remy coming back, I thought it would be fun to talk about a memorable trip or vacation people have taken. Mine, I think I will remember this for quite some time. In March when I went to Aruba with my wife, it was right as the pandemic was starting, and we kind of were waffling about going. It was great. Aruba is like, it's an island in the Caribbean, so beaches, sun, it was things that we don't get to experience around here. Super fun. But then as we came back, that was when everything was shutting down in the US, and that's pretty much our only memory of the trip as we came back and the pandemic was unfolding in the US. I was talking with my wife about that this weekend and how it's kind of soured the trip. But it was fun when we were there, but it'll be memorable for a different reason. Remy, what about you?
About me, so I love road trips, and I did some road trips with one of my best friends a few years ago. We went to Canada, in the Quebec part of the Canada, and we did I don't know how many, but like 4 or 5 national parks. So hiking, obviously. And also we went to see whales in the Saint Laurent river, basically, just like between the river and the sea. So yeah, that's a really cool memory. And then the next year we did another road trip with the same friend in Scotland, and that was also super fun. So yeah, road trips are always fun, like this year as well in Italy. That was awesome. But yeah, I did many road trips, so I won't go into details for each one. Mark, what about you?
My most memorable would be India. So I spent 2 weeks in India. I think it was maybe about 7 years ago now, but that was one of the first trips that I'd taken outside of Europe, and it was just amazing. It was just so different, and just experiencing that for the first time. But we traveled to maybe, I think it was about 6 or 7 different towns, traveling on the trains there, because the trains in India are really cool. They've got different classes, so you can sleep on there for the overnight trains, or some of the shorter ones. There's not any beds, but we were on all sorts of different trains, and the trains in themselves are a really, really cool experience. But we traveled down most of the West Coast and then back up again. But it was only 2 weeks, but it felt really, really long, and we saw a lot of what they had in the south, including the backwaters, which is just like lots of palm trees and lots of open water just set back from the coast, and it's really, really beautiful. But that was especially memorable for me. Is it Albert next? Yeah, Albert.
Yeah, so like 4 years ago, my wife and I, we went to Japan. So that was very memorable because we went there for Tokyo Marathon, and Tokyo Marathon is known to be very difficult to get. So people need to apply, and then there will be a ballot to tell you whether you get an entry into the race or not. and we both tried on the first attempt and we got it. So it was quite memorable. It's like we know friends who have tried 3 or 4 times and they couldn't get an entry at all. So yeah, it was fun. And so it also because there's like a lot of training leading up to it, so it makes the trip more worthwhile, I would say. Yeah. So we went there and then followed by like 1.5 weeks of vacation after that, like just going up to the different parts of Japan. And the train there is really good, so very accessible. We could get from like one city to another in 1 hour, 2 hours. So saves a lot of time. How about Genshin?
I didn't travel a lot, and so I think the most memorable, not sure if it's most memorable, but at least it's a significant one, that for the first GitLab country summit I joined, I went. That's my first time in GitLab to Austin, and that's quite different because that's my first time which I really travel alone. Because previously I always just come with someone, and people bring me there. I didn't do anything, so that's my first time I really handled the trip, and probably also other trip with GitLab, because like last time to Greece, that's my first time to Europe, and it's much different. And Mexico, I never thought about going to Mexico and things like that.
Cool. Thanks for sharing, everyone. Albert, really cool to hear about the Tokyo Marathon. I had no idea. That's really, really cool. So I'll move into the announcements. Try to move pretty quick here. I did want to pass on my thanks for being really flexible last week. It was a kind of a strange week for me, being without power and internet. I linked to it's called a derecho. It's a storm I had never heard of until it hit us, which is a very 2020 thing to happen, like year 2020, I feel like. It's essentially a Category 2 hurricane that went across the whole state. So I was watching TV before the power went out here, and they were like, well, there's going to be some severe thunderstorms. And they're like, well, it's really building, and it might produce a tornado, and then power went out. And it was just, I mean, the devastation in the article that I linked to, the damage is pretty bad. It's about, I think, 80 kilometers wide, consistent wind speeds above 120 kilometers an hour. So and that went for 400, 500 miles. I don't know what that is in kilometers, but across, the whole state. It was pretty wild. Hopefully never have to experience anything like that again.
Are the tornadoes common in like the middle of the States?
I've heard of one happen. I've heard of smaller ones happening in like Colorado, and the mountains break it up, so it doesn't last as long. And Minnesota, there was one that happened in Minnesota up into Canada a few years ago, but nothing that was. Iowa is like flat, so there's nothing that is going to break it up really. And the storm just kind of builds on the airflow of itself, like that's feeding into it. And since there's nothing blocking air in Iowa, it's just flat farmland. The news said a storm like this hasn't happened in like 70 years here, so it's like a generational storm. Hopefully once in a generation. But yeah, thank you everyone for being flexible and kind of catching up async on things. Next item, Plan is running a test efficiency challenge. If you didn't see in Q3, it's tied to their OKRs, I believe, to speed up GitLab's tests. Remy pointed this out, called it interesting. I thought I'd share it here. If you have bandwidth and you feel interested in participating, feel free to contribute. I think it would be a good thing to demonstrate, to show how we can support others that are trying to improve the pipeline productivity. Another item, in case you missed it, this was shared in Quality Weekly Stand-Up. PM prioritization is being discussed and changed. Like the criteria is being changed at the e-group offsite. If you haven't given that issue a read, please do. it's relating to changing from, I think, stages per user and S-mount, or stages per user to monthly active usage. And it's going to really kind of change the focus, the decision making within product. Another reminder, we're pipeline on-call DRI. As we're working through things and you're finding inefficiencies, please consider our Q3 OKR or our Q3 KR to improve this. And maybe if there's something small or boring solution, feel free to fix it as you're doing your work. Two more quick reminders. Team meetings are recorded and uploaded to Google Drive. I have not been uploading to Unfiltered, but plan to do that after today's recording gets uploaded. And then last item, I didn't really see this broadcasted anywhere, so this came up in a one-on-one earlier. Jamf is supposed to start, I haven't seen communication that it has started, an opt-in pilot this week, and we'll run for a month just to see how it works with developers in our software. So I linked to where I saw it communicated the clearest, but something to just be aware of and keep an eye on, okay? All right, into the agenda. I wanted to welcome back Remy. I thought your trip sounded cool. Driving through the country with a Tesla sounded really, really fun. So welcome back. We're all happy to have you here and see you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that was fun. Tesla is just amazing.
Did you use the, I don't remember the mode, but like the mode that makes like essentially acceleration like super fast. I think it's like turbo mode or something like that. It's got like a.
Yeah, like the sport mode.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my friend has the performance model 3. So it goes like from 0 to 100 kilometers in something like 3 seconds. It's just amazing. It's yeah, you have to live it to believe it.
That's pretty cool. It's also great that you could get through with an electric vehicle, just road tripping. That's pretty cool thing.
Yeah, actually, there's a lot of like superchargers along the way, and it's the Tesla that tells you like when to stop and where to stop. It's optimizing like everything, so it's really convenient and it works pretty well already.
Gotcha. Cool. Welcome back. The next item I had, I just wanted to point out, I feel that I've done a really poor job clarifying priorities, especially the last 2-3 weeks, and wanted to use this as an opportunity to kind of talk through how I see things and any discussion related to this. I kind of ranked our KRs as well as some other work streams. So I have the wider community efficiency KR is the most important because it's a pass-through KR. So it's from engineering to quality to our team. So that should be the item that we give the most attention, and it's probably the most important to complete within our KRs. The next item is dog food, improving the test file finder and reducing the cost per pipeline. That'll help us out with our cost per pipeline KPI, but also just enable more efficiencies. Right below that is KPI health short-term corrective actions, so things that are boring solutions or master broken fixes that can help keep our KPIs in a positive state. Then after that, all other team OKRs, long-term KPI health corrective actions that may not apply to an OKR. And the other thing I wanted to call attention to is the epic to centralized handbook metrics. This is like gaining and growing more attention. It's not explicitly, all of the scope is not explicitly tied to our KRs for Q3, but this might be something that ends up getting swapped in for some other items. So just be aware of that effort if you haven't given that a read. Those are the things I would call out as explicit priorities. Of course, there's going to be reactive work that comes up as well, and I leave it up to the team's discretion to make the best decision that they feel in the moment. But I wanted to see if there's any questions on this priority list or any confusion. Okay. Sorry, did I cut someone off there?
No, I think that was me, but just
okay.
No, it makes sense. I think the priority makes sense to me.
Okay. The next item I just crossed out, the short version is there's a community KPI task within our community contribution KR that I broke into a bunch of different tasks with the intent that multiple people can work on them to learn SciSense. Kind of chatted with a number of people in one-on-ones, and I'm just going to assign those out. If you have explicit interest in a particular metric, let me know, and or just even speak up in the issue and I'll assign it to you, even if it's already assigned to someone else and they haven't started. Feel free to express interest and we can shuffle things around. Remy, over to you on insights.
Yeah, so it's related to scoping the priority and severity labels, and yeah, so it's now sorted out. But initially, Genshin changed the default for the insights, the default labels, priority and severity labels. But I noted that that would be kind of a breaking change because users that do use the default charts would not see any data anymore if they don't change their labels. So so we decided to not change that for now, and we can do that probably in a major version change if we want to.
Does the default set of severity labels get created? I didn't think so, but I'm just curious.
No, there are a set of default labels, but it doesn't include the severity priority labels. It was more of like Insights would provide these charts as defaults, and if you wanted to utilize them, you'd make use of those, but some people may have already used those.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But yeah, we do have a default set of labels, but it's like bug, feature, stuff like that.
Yep, okay. I totally agree with the decision, by the way. I wasn't trying to back away from it. It's definitely a breaking change. It's not worth doing. We'll deal with it. I was just curious there.
Yeah, and maybe you could even think about like more like kind of an intelligent way of choosing the labels. Like we could probably detect if the labels are scoped or not and use the one that exists so that it would work in both cases, basically. Like,
yeah.
So that it would be backward compatible and as well as forward compatible, basically. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for handling that in the merge request. That was great. Team always does great async collaboration. It's always good to see examples of that too. Anything else on that one, Remy or anyone? Genshin, over to you on section label inference.
Section labels were wrong on last Friday, I think, and it gave 500 error for several times, and I retried the jobs for more than 10 times, and eventually it went through. So I guess maybe it's just the server was under some heavy load before, because I can't think of any reason why it would time out. The underlying error was time out, the query time out. So I guess it's just a notice that it should be all done, and maybe it shouldn't be an issue in the future. I mean, maybe it's just temporary for the timeout. And next is for scope, priority, and severity labels that all the merge requests are ready, maybe up for review, maybe not ready yet, but and I'm thinking about making a new feature, a new issue which explain what would be changed and what people should expect and what people should do. And I don't think there is much they should do besides using the new labels. I will use this issue to point people to leave feedback before making the actual change. And I'm thinking if Kyle suggests that we do it next week, and sure, I don't really mind doing it when to do it. I just feel if there's nothing wrong, we can do it earlier maybe, and see what everyone thinks.
My thinking is just kind of there's more unknowns with this change. So the changes themselves are simple, but I feel that we have a higher likelihood of missing something and needing to react quickly to it. And with us being on call this week,
Oh, right.
that was my thought for next week. Also doing it late in the week, like if it's Thursday or Friday, sometimes those days are like if we merge it on Friday, things might fail over the weekend. That was my thinking. I'm open to what the team thinks is best. So.
Yeah, I forgot that we are on co-rotation.
Anyone feel that next week is not that we should do it sooner than next week? Because if everyone thinks it's a good idea, I'm totally behind it.
I think it's fine, and that gives a longer notice for people to be aware of the change.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Jitchen, if you create the issue, add it to the engineering week in review, I say like next Monday, Tuesday would be a good date to target for this then.
That's good. Next, Elder.
So yeah, this one is just repeating it from last week. So I created an MR to the test file finder gem that testing group created. So it's basically to add a new option that takes in specified like a custom mapping in a YAML file. So the idea is that then we can use that to sort of replace the tooling that we have. So I have another work in progress MR to experiment with the new gem using a mapping to detect the false test that we are detecting right now. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm just open to any feedback on either of this. I'm for the second MR, there's a lot of configuration that we need to do in the mapping, and I'm not very sure what is the best way to verify like whether the mapping is correct or not. So what I did was create a small script to just to verify what is expected. So what we had before, we could do a unit test on it. But in this case, because it's extracted to a separate executable, so the next thing I tried was basically to pass to test the executable, the result of the executable. Yeah, so I'm open to any ideas on how we can improve this or how we can test it in a better way. Yeah, so one thing about the mapping is that we can also be more cautious. We can add more mapping and we can cover more files. And if any of the test files don't exist, we will just ignore it. Yeah. Yeah, I think we can take this async and have comments on the MRs.
Yeah, that's very cool, Albert. Great stuff. I will definitely take a look at it.
Yeah. Great job picking that up and getting something together so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So
Thanks.
looking forward to see how this evolves.
Mm-hmm.
There's no other items on the agenda. Last call for anything anyone wants to freestyle and bring up. Okay. I appreciate the time. It's good seeing the full team, everyone together. I hope everyone has a good rest of your day. Catch you later.
Cool.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.